quiet. You'll kill yourself. Get off that skateboard.
Welcome to my channel.
#1 victory royale. Yeah,
I'm gonna be all up in your feet.
10 kills on the board right now. Just wiped out tomato pound.
Who wants to talk about My Little Pony life, y'all? Oh boy, this is how we're popping the G4 cherry on this channel, huh? Okay, where do I start? Let me start things off by traveling back to October 12th, 2019. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic had just ended its lengthy TV run with a really emotional ending that capped off an amazing series that to this day was one of the more better cartoon endings in this cartoon golden era renaissance, or whatever I called it in that G5 video. Okay, imagine that. Now I want you to imagine a month later, Hasbro decides, hey, we have a new toy line based off of G4. Okay, and it's also an announcement for a new show. Okay, and there's a Lizzo song playing in the background. And well, you can probably guess how this went over with the Brony community. This show is just gonna be Teen Titans Go. Why do they look like that? It's gonna suck. So on and so forth. But shortly after this backlash, Hasbro then deleted the video off of their YouTube channel for reasons. People like to speculate that it was due to the backlash, but like, come on. I highly doubt Hasbro would delete a trailer over backlash. It was mostly due in part of the song, maybe, I guess, because nobody really knows the answer as to why they removed the announcement video off of their YouTube channel. That's just my theory. My game! Because when I think of My Little Pony, I think of feeling good as hell. By the way, what's Lizzo up to? Oh.
Lizzo breaking her silence over accusations of sexual harassment and a hostile work environment. The singer is denying the claims of 3 of her former dancers.
Yeah, hindsight's 2020, isn't it? But after that whole announcement debacle, and after months of waiting for the show to come out, it finally premiered on November 7th of 2020 on the Discovery Family Network, or channel, or whatever. And this is the part where I get to talk about the show now. Spoiler alert, there's not much to talk about. Well, I lie a little bit, because it's more about the surrounding circumstances and fan discourse behind the show, and ultimately, let's all be honest here, and how much of a cash grab this was to Hasbro, and milking the series for as long as they possibly could before the next generation, because the series starts off with the main 6 with a completely radical different art style at the Cake Family's bakery from Friendship is Magic, but they're nowhere to be seen, and they start drinking these potions that give them magic powers, and okay, what the fuck is happening? When I tell you I was bewildered and confused when I watched the first episode of the series called Princess Probs, I didn't know what to think of the show. This show is way different from Friendship is Magic, which I want to get into like the story aspect or premise of this show, and like there is none. Okay, very loosely, sometimes, maybe there's story here. Like for example, there's like a mini arc, and I'm putting mini arc in heavy quotation marks here, with Fluttershy wanting to win a meet and greet with her idol, Mr. Fantastic. And like they have a couple episodes where they do random stuff and it's kind of related. You know what this kind of reminds me of? This reminds me of season 1 of FIM, where you know how Twilight and the gang were preparing for the Grand Galloping Gala. It's kind of like that in a sense, but on a way lesser scale. And that was just one example. I know there are like 3 or 4 other arcs in this series, but they're not that serious. The only quote-unquote serious one was the last arc involving the Wildsiders, and let's just say I wasn't really a big fan of this, but I don't think the story is the selling point of this show, if we're being honest here. Which then leads me to characters, and they're okay. Because the characters, if you know them from Friendship is Magic and have watched that show, they're just basically the same, except a little bit dumbed down and just a little bit more exaggerated. Twilight's the smart and anxious one. Pinkie's the crazy wacky one. Rarity's the posh, beautiful one. Rainbow Dash is cocky and arrogant. Fluttershy's the best character. And then Applejack exists. You're not getting much deeper than that. But like, if you haven't watched Friendship is Magic before, I will be fair in saying that these characters, to someone who hasn't watched Friendship is Magic before, might just think that they're bland stereotypes in the context of this show, not Friendship is Magic. I want to make that really clear to people who didn't get that already. I also don't like the phone thing and tablet thing. Characters just using phones and tablets just really seems out of character. But then again, this is a different interpretation of My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, so I just personally think it's just dumb. There's also some new characters like Pinkie Pie's brother or Liquid Fluttershy.
Brothers! Liquid! I've been waiting for this!
But they don't stay around long enough for me to actually care, except for like maybe the aforementioned Wildsiders. They're from like a different dimension, and it's just like, they're there, I guess, but it's not that serious. They don't play a part until like the end of the series. Oh, and just before I move on, I want to point out that they got most of the voice cast for the characters from Friendship is Magic to voice this show, but there were a few noticeable people who weren't in the show. For example, Kathy Westlock is not Spike anymore. It's voiced by Tabitha St. Germain. And before anybody tells me about the whole situation with Kathy Westlock not wanting to voice Spike, she basically just explained that she didn't want to voice Spike after Friendship is Magic, which props to her. I'll probably put a clip up here or something right about now.
Hi everybody, Kathy Westlock here. I'll be brief, but I just wanted to say that it was my personal choice, and it was a choice that was made from a sentimental place, from an actor's perspective, a creative choice, to decide to end voicing Spike with the original voices at the end of the series. As you know, Friendship is Magic meant a great deal to me, and I just thought that it was the right choice for me to end it at that time.
Or Discord being voiced by Big Mac's voice actor, Peter New. He does a far better job than Tabitha with Spike, but you can notice it if you just pay attention just a little bit. Let me see what else I can talk about. Oh yeah, let me talk about the episode format very briefly. I didn't like it. I liked it when the first 6 episodes were one episode with 2 5-minute parts. I think that just provides for better pacing and structure in general, instead of just 5-minute episodes just put together at random. Again, sometimes they're connected, some episodes will follow up off of the previous one, and sometimes they just won't, and that's okay. I just preferred it when the episodes were just 2-parters. Let's talk about the art style. The art style is very interesting, and I'm gonna get all of my negatives out of the way first before I get to the positives. My number one complaint with this art style is that it's really basic, and what I mean by basic is I want you to look at the show's background or backgrounds and tell me what exactly are they? I get that this is like a stylistic choice to say the least, but like some points when I was watching the show, I'm like, okay, but like where are they standing on, or what is the geometry of this world? And like it's not like a deal breaker or anything. It's just but other than that, it's not the end of the world. It's just, what's the word I'm looking for? Abstract. I'll call it that. And with all those negatives being said though, I do appreciate how characters are more expressive and exaggerated in this show. Just their facial animations and how rapid everything is and how fluid it is. You can tell this is a more cartoony style approach, along with the slapstick or physical types of comedy in the show. I think visually on a character front, it's pretty entertaining. Like every time Rarity pulls out a chair when she's being dramatic, or when Twilight just breaks into pieces for no reason, or when Pinkie Pie explodes. Yeah, they like that a lot in the show for whatever reason. And then this is like, it shouldn't be that funny to me, but Fluttershy has this thing in the show where she like grows really big and really small. I don't know why this is so funny to me, but every time I saw it, I'm like, this is so stupid. This is so dumb. This show being so unserious and characters visually being so over the top add to the show's already chaotic insanity and just overall weirdness. So overall, while I did think that there were some problems artistically I had with this show, with its backgrounds, or just flat out, I'm gonna call it cost-effective simplicity, I overall felt that the characters' cutesy yet insane expressions and how they interact with each other as a positive in this show. And before we wrap things up for today's video, I just want to answer and propose this one question. Was My Little Pony Pony Life that bad, or just really weird? And I think it ultimately comes down to, no, I don't don't think it was that bad, but the show just kinda exists. While I was making this video, I asked you guys on my community tab just a simple question of, do you like pony life? Yes, no, or meh? And most people in my audience picked meh, and that seems about right about how I felt about it before I even asked you guys to begin with. This show solely exists because Hasbro just wanted to get a little bit more money out of G4 before the next generation. Do I think this show was necessarily needed? No. Do I think that a lot of bronies were just overreacting and calling it Teen Titans Go because that's what it was based on? Kinda, a little bit. Like, I can obviously see the comparisons between the two, and I even watched a couple episodes of Teen Titans Go while making this video for comparison, God forbid, but I'd much rather watch this show than Teen Titans Go. I don't think this show was quite memorable, but I don't think that it's necessarily the worst thing I've ever seen. Like I mentioned earlier in this video, this was an opportunity for Hasbro to cash in on the Teen Titans Go craze that cartoons were doing for just long enough before the next generation of My Little Pony comes out. And before you guys ask, what about Tell Your Tale? You didn't bring up Tell Your Tale in this video. I don't care. Tell Your Tale and Make Your Mark and G5 as a whole already get enough hate as is. I don't want to make a whole portion of the video about it because I could give less of a fuck right now. Who cares? We know what G5 is. But in the end, My Little Pony Pony Life, if you think about it, was just a really weird cash grab that just exists. Anyways, I'm gonna go suck on some bitch's feet while I play Crazy Taxi or some shit or whatever. I don't know. Feet.
One day, Twilight Sparkle, the princess of friendship, was on her way to Ponyville. She was excited to see her friends.